entire incident, calling it shameful. We also had Mr. Dhankar speaking on the floor of the House, who said that he's deeply hurt by the manner in which pot shots were taken at him, and of course there was insult that was meted out to him. We have heard reactions come in through the day on this particular story. Listen in to the voices coming in from different political quarters.
आपको अंदाजा होना चाहिए कि यदि अगर कोई व्यक्ति वीडियोग्राफी कर आनंद लेता है, एम्पलीफाई करता है, ये संस्कार है क्या अपने? नहीं, ये संस्कार है क्या? जगदीप धनखड़ की कितनी बेइज्जती करो, मुझे कोई चिंता नहीं है। भारत के उपराष्ट्रपति की, किसान समाज की, मेरे वर्ग की मैं पूरी आहुति दे दूंगा हवन में। मैं खुद की परवाह नहीं करता।
देखिए, इसके बारे में मेरे को कुछ पता नहीं है। मैंने इसका बारे में कोई टिप्पणी नहीं कटेंगे। मैं आज आया था। हम लोग कहा है कि हम लोग बोला था मीटिंग का टाइमलाइन एक होना चाहिए। श्री बंदोपाध्याय ने इशू रेस किया था, हम लोग बोला था, तो उन्होंने कहा है हाँ हम टाइम बाइंडिंग्स करेंगे।
Mimicry has been done by also the Honorable Prime Minister in the Lok Sabha itself. I can show you the video.
मोदी है तो मुमकिन है, ये चल रहे हैं, लेकिन वी द पीपल ऑफ इंडिया विल नॉट टॉलरेट, विल उसको सबक सिखाएंगे।
There is also a lot of talk about Kalyan Banerjee imitating the
नॉन इश्यू पर टिप्पणी देना ठीक नहीं रहेगा। इश्यू पर आइए। इंडिया का सिचुएशन बहुत गहरा है। इंडिया को बचाने के लिए 2024 इलेक्शन में पीपल विल टेल द लास्ट वर्ड।
अपमान किसने किया, कैसे किया? वहां पे एमपीज बैठे हुए थे, मैंने उनका वीडियो लिया। मेरा वीडियो मेरे फोन पे है। मीडिया दिखा रहा है, मीडिया कह रहा है, मोदी जी कह रहे हैं, किसी ने कुछ कहा ही नहीं है।
अपनी कास्ट भी लिया है सर,
किसी ने कुछ नहीं वहां पे
किसानों का अपमान किया।
नहीं सुनिए, देखिए वहां पे हमारे 150 एमपीज को बाहर फेंक दिया है, ठीक है? उसके बारे में मीडिया में कोई चर्चा नहीं हो रही है।
संसद में जिन लोगों को आपने भेजा है वो वाद विवाद के बदले जोकर का काम पकड़ लिया उन्होंने। और ये कांग्रेस का नेता राहुल गांधी उसके वीडियो बना रहा है। ये भी आज हमको देखना था। इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस, जिसके बारे में कहते हैं कि 100 साल से ज्यादा का इतिहास है, उसका नेता एक नकलची की उसकी वीडियो बनाए। अब राहुल गांधी को ऐसे समय पर ओबीसी की याद नहीं आती, वैसे ओबीसी का राग लाते हैं। ओबीसी पिछड़ा पिछड़ा पिछड़ा, ऐसे लोगों को राजनीति में कोई जगह होनी चाहिए क्या?
Cutting across to my colleague Arunima, who's joining us on the broadcast. She's been tracking all the voices, all the drama, disruption that we have seen in the last 2 to 3 days, which has only escalated for the worse. Arunima, taking in a view from you, shifting of goalposts. Earlier it was the opposition that was questioning the government over the spate of suspensions that have happened. And now this particular video where Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, also the chair of Rajya Sabha, is being mocked at, has now taken the centre stage.
Yes, the government is definitely wanting to keep this at the centre of focus. The mimicry and the subsequent support shown by other MPs who were present there, including Rahul Gandhi. Jairam Ramesh has just tweeted saying, when you mocked Hamid Ansari, who was earlier the Vice President of India, when he was targeted, was that not targeting a constitutional position? So opposition also in no mood to take what the government is throwing at them in terms of bar. Kalyan Banerjee himself, when he was asked, he said, "मैं धनखड़ जी की इज्जत करता हूँ, I respect Mr. Dhankar." And he also went on to say that mimicry is a form of art. When you all ask all the other suspended MPs, especially the ones from Lok Sabha who are colleagues of Kalyan Banerjee, they're also floundering for words. but it's very clear that the government has managed to shape the narrative in a way that suspension of MPs is not being spoken about as much as the mimicry. Rahul Gandhi accuses the media, saying that you are the ones who are not giving the suspension its due coverage. But if you hear the other MPs, they are saying that this will continue to dominate. Once the parliament session ends, we will take this to the People's Court. Tell them how your elected representatives are not being heard, not being given a chance to speak inside the house.
All right, Arunima, can I request you to please stay with us on the broadcast? As Arunima highlights the kind of voices that we have heard through the day, how the political narrative is shaping up, let's listen in to some more reactions, some more voices coming in on the story.
आपके संविधान पद को जो अपमानित किया है, तो उस सदन के सदस्य है श्री राहुल गांधी, पूरा संविधान पद का और आपका अपमान किया है। ये तो हम घोर निंदा करते हैं सर। कल भी हमने इसका निंदा किया है। किसी वर्ग और समाज को ऐसे कलंकित करना बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है सर।
See, this is going to be the trend, you know, it's my way or the highway. If you do not fall in line, we are going to throw you out because we have the majority. We control both the houses. And they want to turn parliament into just a stamping house to stamp and authorize the diktats of the PMO. That's what they wanted.
First commit a cardinal sin and then remain defiant about it. Kalyan Banerjee, when asked to apologize for his egregious act of mimicking and mocking the Vice President of India, the son of the soil, the son of a farmer, an OBC Vice President who comes from Jat Samaj, instead of apologizing unconditionally, he says that mimicry and mocking is an art form and I have only performed an art form. And then he started even chastising the media personnel who were asking him questions, telling them that you are exploiting your position. This is the arrogance, elitism, defiance. Congress MPs say it's a trivial issue. So insulting constitutional positions is an art form for Congress and India Alliance.
जनसभा में जा रहे हैं, ना हम चेंबर में जा रहे हैं, ना गैलरी में जा रहे हैं, ना लॉबी में जा रहे हैं। लोकसभा और राज्यसभा को बचाने के लिए, इस देश के लोकतंत्र को बचाने के लिए हम जनसभा में जा रहे हैं। देखिए, बुनियादी बात यह है कि सभी लोगों ने ये तय किया है कि हम इकट्ठे होकर लड़ेंगे।
आज़ादी की लड़ाई जब लड़ी जा रही थी, उस समय यही अंग्रेजों से जुड़ा मात्र संगठन भाजपा का लोकतंत्र का विरोध कर रहा था, आजादी का विरोध कर रहा था। आज वही दृश्य दिख रहा है यहाँ पे। वो लोकतंत्र की हत्या कर रहे हैं, सांसदों को बोलने की इजाजत नहीं दे रहे हैं, उनको पूरी तरीके से सदन की कार्रवाई से बाहर कर रहे हैं। फिर वही पुनरावृत्ति है। इसको समझने के लिए देश के इतिहास में जाना होगा।
सबसे बड़ा नॉन सीरियस अगर कोई नेता है तो वो राहुल गांधी है, जिसको पता नहीं है वो क्या बोलते हैं। इसलिए नॉन सीरियस व्यक्ति पर मुझे लगता है कि कोई ज्यादा टिप्पणी करने की जरूरत नहीं है। जिन विषयों को वो रखना चाहते हैं उस विषय पर तो जनता ने उन्हें 2019 में नकार दिया। 3 राज्यों में हारने के बाद थेथरोलॉजी की सीमा पार कर गए। राहुल गांधी को तो मना करना चाहिए कि ये उपराष्ट्रपति का मत करो इस ढंग से। उपराष्ट्रपति एक संवैधानिक पद पे व्यक्ति होता है।
Let me continue that conversation with my colleague Arunima. She's been tracking all the developments in Parliament, and the winter session has been a very stormy one, Arunima. Not that we have not seen these stormy sessions or disruptions earlier, but by the sheer number of suspensions that we have seen in this session, that speaks volumes.
I think it's a world record. I mean, it's definitely a record as far as the Indian Parliament system is concerned.
Right.
But whether there is any precedent anywhere in any other Parliament also, I think the record keepers will have to tell us. And the government is very clear. Even today, 3 other MPs were suspended. So there is no let up. Everyone who is protesting in the well of the house or coming with a placard, the government is not doing a rethink. The Parliamentary Affairs Minister is bringing in a motion and then action is being taken. Protests by the government continued in the Rajya Sabha also on the issue of Kalyan Banerjee's mimicry. There they stood up in question hour and said that we will stand throughout this 1 hour in protest. Ultimately they took their chair, all the ministers, all the BJP MPs took their chair when Vice President and Rajya Sabha Chairperson Mr. Dhankar requested them to do so. But they want to make this point, and the fact that the Prime Minister spoke to the Vice President tweeted about that conversation. President's handle, the Rashtrapati Bhavan Twitter handle also put out that the Rashtrapati was dismayed. Venkaiah Naidu, former Vice President, also threw his hat in the ring. All of this tells you that the government is in no mood to relent. The three important legislations that they wanted passed, the criminal law amendment bills, they have been passed. The only voice in shouting no was that of Asaduddin Owaisi, and he was the lone opposition voice that we could hear. No problem for the government there to get the legislation passed as they wanted. Even as I am speaking to you now, the final legislation, the telecom bill, is being taken up in Lok Sabha.
The telecom bill is being taken up in Lok Sabha. That's an important piece of legislation. And on that note, Arunima, can I request you to please stay with us on the broadcast, that because there is an important update which is coming in from Lok Sabha right now. The criminal bills, the three major laws that the government was looking at, which includes the I.N.D.I.A Sanhita Bill 2023, Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita Bill 2023 and Bharatiya Sakshi Adhiniyam or Bharatiya Sakshi Bill 2023. All those three bills which intend to overhaul the legal system in India, in many ways reorganize it, put the numbering in a different manner, consolidate it, do away with the redundant section. The government argues it's about doing away with the baggage of colonialism, and this is about accepting our own roots and our heritage in Indian democracy and the Indian constitution, which has a rich history post-independence. All these three bills have been passed in Lok Sabha. Arunima, I'm sure, and you can elaborate on it further, that this is a big move. I mean, this kind of overhaul post-independence has not happened.
Criminal jurisprudence in this country is about to change forever. Once the president gives her assent and this becomes the official law, criminal law as we studied it in schools, colleges, as lawyers studied it, as jurists studied it, it'll not be the same anymore. What are the key differences that the government has brought about? First and foremost, as the Home Minister argued, he said the IPC and the CRPC and the Evidence Act formulated by British colonial rulers put, in the first few sections, not bodily harm caused to an Indian, not sexual harassment of a woman, not crime against children, instead crimes that were committed against the crown. That got precedent for the first few sections. So this government wanted that to be changed. They wanted Indians to be at the forefront of an Indian law. Secondly, terrorism, the definition of terrorism, the fact that economic terrorism is at the heart of how terror operatives are trying to sabotage the interests of the country, that has been brought in. There is a lot of borrowing from the UAPA also. So earlier you had to file under various sections of UAPA. Now you can do it under the Bharatiya Nagrik Sanhita, as Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita as well. The way a criminal procedure code has been amended, you have to register an FIR compulsorily, even if it is a zero FIR. You have to within 14 days say what action are you taking on that FIR. Okay. Within 45 days, the court must take cognizance. So these are key changes that have been brought about in the way criminal law works in this country.
All right, so the offence of sedition has been done with. There is a new chapter now which deals with offences against the state. Just a note of caution that I want to strike here is the fact that the basis of the Indian Constitution or the basics of the Indian Constitution can never be changed. That's the law of the land. However, it has been overhauled. It has been reorganized. The numbering is very different. As I said, a lot of redundant colonial sections have been done away with. A lot of definitions have been broadened. In many ways, it's a step forward. Let's see how that is really received. Moving on and telling you about the opposition meet that happened yesterday, the I.N.D.I.A Alliance, top members of the alliance, key leaders from across the country, including Mamata Banerjee, you had Mr. Stalin from Tamil Nadu, Arvind Kejriwal, Mr. Sharad Pawar, Uddhav Thackeray. All of them met in the national capital, including Sonia Gandhi, who was present in the meeting. There was also Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge from the Congress party. This time it seems that there was some degree of clarity which was there as far as seat sharing is concerned and the leadership phase is concerned. Mamata Banerjee, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal proposed the name of Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge for the Prime Minister's position. But there are differences. There are other players within the I.N.D.A Alliance who are not really keen on these particular names. They say that there should be more deliberations that should happen on this entire issue. We heard different voices coming coming in. The bloc will hold another meeting, joint rallies for 2024 elections on seat sharing. There is some more brainstorming that needs to be done. A step forward, that's what the members argue. Let's see if there is any real strategic electoral alliances that the opposition parties are able to form ahead of 2024. Reactions.
10 मेंबर का डेलीगेशन हम अभी प्राइम मिनिस्टर के साथ मीट करके आ रहा हूँ। 223 का जो बजट हुआ था, वो बजट में 100 दिन के लिए काम के लिए हमारा स्टेट को एक पैसा भी नहीं दिया था। रूरल डेवलपमेंट का स्कीम बंद कर दिया है और हेल्थ मिशन का प्रोग्राम भी बंद कर दिया है, रुपया नहीं दे रहा है। फाइनेंस कमीशन का रुपया भी नहीं मिल रहा है। पीएम ने आज कहा है कि उनका ऑफिसर और हमारा ऑफिसर मिलकर एक ज्वाइंट मीटिंग होगा, उसमें अगर कोई क्लैरिफिकेशन का जरूरत हो। मैंने बोला क्लैरिफिकेशन तो हमने 195 बार दे दिया, तो उसका बाद भी जरूरत हो तो एक मीटिंग जरूर कर सकता है ऑफिसर टू ऑफिसर। खारगे जी को नाम हमने किया है कि हर लोग पूछता है एक फेस तो चाहिए, तुम्हारा फेस कौन है, तो इसी के लिए हम प्रपोजल दिया था कि खारगे जी को होना चाहिए। खारगे जी अगर फेस होगा तो ठीक है, और हमारा कोई एतराज नहीं है, और हमको सपोर्ट दिया है अरविंद केजरीवाल जी।
हमने पहले सभी लोग जीत के आना है, जीत के लिए क्या करना उसके बारे में हम सोचे। कौन प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनना ये बाद में की बात है।
I'm joined by Mr. D. Raja. Sir, what was the discussion today? Has there been a deadline that has been set as far as the seat sharing is concerned?
No, not deadline. It has been suggested that seat sharing negotiations must be started and concluded as early as possible, so that we can move to the people, go to the people, put up a strong collective fight against BJP. And India Alliance has been emerging as a strong force having the support of the people, and we should now go to the people and make all our efforts to fight and defeat BJP.
Will there be a joint campaign as far as India Alliance?
Definitely, we will identify issues, and in different parts of the country. The idea is to organize huge public meetings, rallies, so that the leaders of India Alliance can address, and that will move the people, enthuse the people in order to ensure the defeat of BJP.
One last question. Has there been a discussion on the PM face of India Alliance?
No discussion, nothing.
Cutting across to my colleague Pallavi, who's joining us on the broadcast. Pallavi, if we talk about any kind of substantial development that has happened or any key takeaways from that meeting of the opposition parties, compared to the last few meets that we have seen, what was different about this particular meeting?
Well, frankly speaking, if you ask me whether there's any headway made in terms of seat sharing talks and the Prime Minister's face, that certainly didn't happen. But at least the fact is that they've set a definite deadline, which is by 31st of December when they have to do it. But an earlier deadline has also been set, but nothing went forward. But this time round, there was a sense of urgency, and this is something which we cannot keep on postponing anymore. Names for the first time, I would say, have been floated by Mamata Banerjee and Arvind Kejriwal. Clearly, those names have not been accepted by all. That's one. As far as seat sharing is concerned, Anuja, that also is going to be very difficult to achieve because there are different ambitions, different strokes, and whether they are able to overcome the differences and ensure that a seat sharing takes place, that I think would be a huge challenge.
That will be a huge challenge. Thank you, Pallavi, for pointing out all those challenges that lie in the way for the opposition parties. It's a difficult alliances, unnatural partners who have come on the table and trying to get a political consensus. That will indeed be very difficult. Listening to some voices and reactions on the story.
ईवीएम को लेकर कुछ चर्चा हुई मीटिंग में?
बिल्कुल चर्चा हुई है, एक प्रस्ताव पारित किया गया, वो आपके बीच में बांटा गया, आप उसको देख लीजिएगा। वो हम ECI से उस सवाल को उठाएंगे।
सीट शेयरिंग को लेकर कोई टाइमलाइन डिसाइड हुई है सर? सीट शेयरिंग कैसे होगी, स्टेट लेवल पे कैसे होगी?
आप चिंता मत कीजिए, बहुत काफी चुनाव से काफी पहले तय हो जाएगी।
मीटिंग आप बताइए कैसी रही?
इंडिया गठबंधन की बैठक हुई है जी, और सभी दल बहुत जल्दी टिकट बांट करके मैदान में जाने के लिए तैयार हैं।
सहमति बन गई।
बहुत जल्दी सीटें डिस्ट्रीब्यूट होंगी और हम सब लोग जनता के बीच में दिखाई देंगे। समाजवादी पार्टी को जो पक्ष रखना था जी, वो अंदर इंडिया गठबंधन के जितने दल हैं उनके बीच में रखा है। किसी एक दल के बारे में या कोई जानकारी आपको हासिल है, मुझे नहीं पता क्या आप पूछ रहे हो मुझसे।
मध्य प्रदेश में जैसा हुआ वैसा नहीं होगा। मध्य प्रदेश में आपके साथ
इस बार मुझे उम्मीद है कि
जी,
इंडिया गठबंधन जो बना है जी, ये जो मैंने पहले दिन से कहा स्ट्रेटेजी हमारी वही पीडीए रहेगी और भारतीय जनता पार्टी को हराएंगे।
अच्छा रहा, अभी शुरू होगा, कैंपेन भी शुरू होगा, सीट शेयरिंग भी होगी, सब होगा।
कन्वीनर को लेकर सर कोई चुना गया? कन्वीनर को लेकर कोई बात हुई सर?
नहीं अभी नहीं।
सर आप
कितनी महत्वपूर्ण बैठक हुई, ना कोऑर्डिनेटर तय हुआ, ना प्रधानमंत्री का कैंडिडेट तय हुआ, ना सीट शेयरिंग कैसे होगी ये तय हुआ, ना उनकी नीतियां क्या होंगी वो तय हुआ। बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट मीटिंग आपको लगती है? असल में क्या है कि ये सिर्फ आपस में, क्योंकि मोदी जी का विरोध करना है और किसी ढंग से भी प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी का विरोध करते हुए सरकार बनाने की कोशिश करनी है, ये उसी के लिए बैठक है। अन्यथा कोई इनकी बैठकों में कोई तथ्य नहीं है।
सबसे ज़्यादा बात हुई सीट शेयरिंग को लेकर कि सीट शेयरिंग में अब देर नहीं होनी चाहिए। उन्होंने कहा कि स्टेट लेवल पर पहले तय हो, स्टेट के जो पॉलिटिकल लोग हैं वो तय करें और उसके बाद वहाँ पर कोई बाधा आए डिसीजन लेने में तो फिर सेंट्रल में आके उसका कोई समाधान निकाला जाए और कंबाइंड रैली, कंबाइंड प्रोग्राम्स चॉकआउट किए जाए एवरी 10 डेज में। ये इस पर जोर दिया गया ताकि लोगों को एक वैक्यूम ना लगे, क्योंकि बीच में काफी दिन तक लोग शांत हो गए थे तो जनता के पास मैसेज नहीं था।
Well, we'll continue tracking this story and much more here on CNN News 18. All the voices lined up here on the other side of a very quick break. Stay tuned, stay with us.
Despite the power of Iceland's Reykjanes eruption decreasing on Tuesday, nature was still putting on a show. The 2.5 mile long fissure continuing to spew lava up to 330 feet into the air. The evacuated town of Grindavik lies under 2 miles away, but volcanologist Dave McGarvey told Reuters the lava flow should avoid the area.
At the moment, it's not, one can't be certain where the lava is going to flow, but it looks like it will go more towards the north and west and perhaps the south and east. And those are good directions for the town of Grindavik.
Recent inactivity had raised hopes the 4,000 residents might return home. Hans Vera, a Belgian who has lived in Iceland since 1999, isn't so sure now.
Although it's just erupting in the north part of it, they probably think there's a chance that it opens up somewhere else and then it's going to be closer to Grindavik. So I don't see that in the near future they will let people get close to Grindavik. So we are back in the waiting game.
This Icelandic Coast Guard flight over the ripped landscape just hours after it burst the Earth's surface shows lava fountains sending magma and smoke hundreds of feet into the air. Officials worry gas pollution could spread to the capital Reykjavik late on Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning.
So it's very early days yet, but I think over the next 2 or 3 days, things will become much clearer.
In 2010, ash clouds from eruptions at the Eyjafjallajökull volcano in the south of Iceland spread over large parts of Europe, grounding tens of thousands of flights in Europe and beyond. But experts say this time limited ash is being released, quelling fears of a repeat, with no disruption so far. These tourists already making the most of the new natural wonder.
It's a once in a lifetime for us, so we don't want to miss that.
Scientists say seismic activity could continue for several months.
Welcome back. And now on to another important story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the first time has spoken on the alleged assassination plot that was allegedly carried out at the behest of certain Indians living in the US. This pertains to the Sikh separatist leader, Gurpatwant Singh Pannun. A US court, there's a prosecution which is going on, a case which is going on, and there it's been accused that somehow this was a conspiracy by certain Indians. The Prime Minister has reiterated that when it comes to India and US, the relationship stands strong, and few instances, stray instances cannot really disturb that strong relationship which exists between the two nations. The Prime Minister also said that if there is any breach of rule of law that has happened at the hands of any Indian citizen, then the law must take its own course. Let's take you through some pointers one by one. Prime Minister Modi, apart from saying what he has said about this particular prosecution, has also taken a strong position when it comes to the Khalistani narrative or that entire propaganda. The key elements are engaged in intimidation, incitement and violence. This is an interview to the Financial Times that the Prime Minister has given. He is deeply concerned about the anti-India activities which are happening abroad. This is something that we have reiterated in our diplomatic relations with Canada, with Australia and also with the United States of America. There is propaganda, an open propaganda which is spewed under the guise of freedom of expression, and the authorities must carefully draw a distinction between the two. Security and counter-terrorism, that cooperation is a key component in US-India relation, and these kind of instances can't really disturb that strong, steady relationship between the two nations. Agreement on all matters not prerequisite for any kind of collaboration. That's what the Prime Minister has insisted upon. He also assured that he will look into any evidence on Pannun if it's shared by the US, and India is going to have a very objective view and a balanced view as far as this matter is concerned. Denial is not the policy that India is going to adopt, and talking very logically, talking from a point of view of reaching out to their counterpart, to US in this case, which has been a strong strategic ally of India on multiple issues. The Prime Minister said that this particular one incident should not be seen as any kind of a disruptive force when it comes to relationship between the two nations. The Prime Minister, by making this statement, has clarified at the top level that if there is credible evidence which is shared by the US authorities, the matter right now is going on in a court, but if at the diplomatic level United States of America decides to share that evidence with Indian authorities, then the Indian government will have a look at it. The Indian government has not taken a position which seems to be in any way dictated by any kind of position which is refusing to look at the other perspective. The Prime Minister said that if there is evidence, we look into it. That means that we are not insisting that our narrative is the only right one. If there are certain individuals who are involved in such activities, then the Prime Minister said law must take its own course. Abhishek with us on the broadcast, getting us more details and perspective on this entire story. Abhishek, how should we read the statement that has come in from the Prime Minister? He has reached out to the US authorities. Am I audible to you, Abhishek? Can you hear me? We'll just try. All right, Abhishek, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Clearly outlined India's priority, India's concern on the entire issue that US has raised. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has clearly laid out India's concern and challenges regarding the US allegations.
All right, we'll try and connect with Abhishek in just a bit, but that's the bit of news which is coming in right now as far as this particular story is concerned. And indeed, it's an important development which has happened so far. The Prime Minister very clear and categoric in his message. Prime Minister has spoken for the first time and he has responded to these allegations that have been made in the public domain, saying that he will look into any evidence, but few instances or few incidents would not derail India-US ties. India-US ties, whether it's on technology, whether it's on defense, whether it's on intelligence, or in the very sensitive nuclear technology sector. We have been close partners for the last 2 decades, and that cooperation has only increased, especially with a neighbor like China, and our strategic interests which are common between India and US. The Prime Minister clarifying that those strategic interests and the long-term projects that the two countries are looking together is something that will that the both countries will continue to carry on. Sushant Sareen, a strategic expert, defense expert, is joining us on the broadcast. Mr. Sareen, good evening. Thank you so much for speaking with us. The Prime Minister making an important statement saying that if there are any allegations that have been made against Indian citizens, law must take its own course, and 1 or 2 instances won't define the India-US ties. How do you see the statement, sir?
I think what the Prime Minister has done is he's basically reiterated the position that had earlier been articulated by the External Affairs Minister, that this is not the policy of the Government of India, and that if there is anything specific, if there is any specific information, we will certainly look into it. And this is why we've always distinguished between the charges or the credible allegations, quote unquote, leveled by the Canadians, and certain indictments that have been filed in an American court. And we said that we'll look into it. That does not mean that we are pleading guilty or any such thing, or that we even accept the charges that have been made in that indictment. We'll look into it. A committee or an inquiry committee has been constituted that has a fairly wide term of reference and what all it will investigate into, including the nexus between criminal mafias, gun runners, drug runners, and all sorts of other despicable elements, most of whom have received safe havens in Western countries like Britain, US, and Canada. So yeah, we will look into it. If we find that if there is any evidence of any wrongdoing, we will certainly then take the next steps, logical steps. But I think what is important is that the Prime Minister has underlined that there will always be, some problems between even close partners and strategic allies. But that does not define the sum and substance of the relationship, which is why there is a certain amount of maturity which is being shown from the Indian side, at least at the official level. I think at the public level, people are incensed with the kind of charges that are being heard by the Western lapdog media and some of the other people out there.
Okay.
And the way Western governments are trying to, turn the screws on. But I think at another level, we are saying, okay, fine, we just go through this, but we will not let this affect the larger relationship, which is a very mature way of, approaching this particular issue.
Absolutely. It's not a stubborn or a rigid way that India has approached this entire matter. Mr. Sushant Sareen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us on The Nation at 5. Let's cut across to some breaking news coming in. We were telling you earlier about the crucial meeting of the opposition, the I.N.D.I.A alliance that happened yesterday. There was no much headway that has been made conclusively as far as the PM face is concerned or the prime ministerial candidate from the opposition side is concerned. But after the name of Mr. Kharge was proposed by certain parties including TMC and also Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, there is a pitch coming in for Nitish Kumar to be considered as the next prime minister. Not for the first time. Listen into some reactions.
उनकी अपनी व्यक्तिगत राय हो सकती है, परंतु उसके अंदर में सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि नीतीश जी के लिए बिहार का एक एक वर्कर, एक एक कार्यकर्ता चाहता है कि नीतीश जी, बिहार की जनता चाहती है कि देश का प्रधानमंत्री अगर किसी को बनना हो तो माननीय नीतीश कुमार जी बने.
Cutting across to my colleague Pallavi as well, who's with us on the broadcast. Pallavi, is this healthy competition? That's what opposition is going to say, or this is the problem of plenty that you've been talking about?
Well, I would say it's more of a problem of plenty, Anusha, and this is exactly what is walking into the narrative which suits the BJP, because all along the BJP has been making the point that in the India front there's a fight taking place over who's going to be the leader and who's going to be the face. I think Mamata Banerjee threw a googly yesterday when she proposed Mallikarjun Kharge. Till now, even the Congress party has not made its stand very clear. Whatever clarification has come in from Mr. Kharge himself. A large chunk of Congress leaders, I'm sure all of us have been asking for Rahul Gandhi to be projected as the PM face. Would they be comfortable with Kharge as the PM face? That is going to be waiting to see how soon will we get a statement on that. But even within the alliance, clearly parties like the RJD, JDU would want their leader to be projected as the PM face. So would the Trinamool Congress, so would the Aam Aadmi Party. This just goes on to show that there are just too many leaders, too many takers for the top post, which makes it easier for the BJP to make the point that it's going to be a khichdi sarkar and it's also going to be unstable. And therefore, BJP is the right party to vote for stability and for development.
Absolutely. Pallavi, the most obvious criticism of the opposition has been that they don't have a leadership phase. They have a lot of regional satraps. The Congress party, of course, is not in the same bargaining position and power. And I know it's a rather ambitious question to ask you, but how difficult it is for them to come to a conclusion, and is it really possible at all for them to come to a conclusion?
It's very tough, I would say. In the UPA times in 2004 when UPA was stitched, I think it was more or less very clear that who's going to be the leader, because the regional satraps were not so powerful. Congress was very much stronger, and Congress got a large chunk of seats. So it was very obvious that they are going to form the government, they are going to form the Prime Minister's post as well. This time round, you see parties like AAP, CMC, all of them very ambitious, very powerful, and the Congress is substantially weakened, especially after the electoral results. None of them will accept the fact that, say, a Kharge or someone from the Congress is already projected as the PM face. How do these parties then go back to their voters and say that, okay, it doesn't matter, you vote for someone who belongs to any other political party?
Absolutely. Mr. Gurpatwant Pannun of the BJP is joining us on the broadcast. Gurpatwant ji, namaskar. Thank you so much for joining us at the Nation at 5. Yesterday, the name of Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge was proposed by certain political parties. The name of Nitish Kumar has been doing rounds, and now his supporters and the party is saying he should be considered for the face of the Prime Minister. Do you think that the I.N.D.I.A Bloc can give BJP a real challenge or a real competition in the run-up to 2024?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We need to understand one thing first. Congress is the same political party that has insulted Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Your viewers would very well remember Ambedkar passed away in 1956. But it was a non-Congress government after 4 decades of his death that gives him a Bharat Ratna. Number one. Number two, look at Babu Jagjivan Ram, another tallest leader after Ambedkar. He was insulted by the Congress party. Even Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge, your viewers would remember, while the oath ceremony of Mr. Mr. Revant Reddy preferred to touch the feet of Madam Sonia Gandhi, but not Kharge. Despite being the president of the party, he is not given the same respect. Be it Mr. Sitaram Kesri. I am very sure, we are very sure that the Congress party intrinsically, institutionally, structurally is a feudal and an anti-Dalit party. And I can give it to you in writing that in no case, in no matter what happens, Mr. Kharge unfortunately will not be projected as the Prime Ministerial candidate of India Alliance, because there will be no agreement within the Congress party itself. I can give it to you in writing because Congress party is an anti-Dalit feudal force. Congress party is the face of populism in the country.
I want you to hold that argument because Mr. Rashid Alvi of the Congress party is also with us on the broadcast. Mr. Alvi, I'm not saying for a moment that there shouldn't be internal democracy. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be healthy competition, but look how close you are to 2024 and you have brand Narendra Modi to counter. With this internal bickering or competition or fight or different names wanting to be the Prime Minister, can you really pose a real challenge to the BJP, sir?
It is very clear, and all leaders of all political parties have made this clarification that no Prime Ministerial candidate will be projected before the election. Only elected members of Parliament and head of the parties, they will decide after the election who will be the Prime Minister. As far as Kharge Sahib is concerned, he may be the Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi may be the Prime Minister. Anybody can be Prime Minister. So, and what concern BJP has? Who will be the Prime Minister of opposition parties? Why? What is the reason? They are saying that Ambedkar Sahib was insulted and this one, Jagjivan Rao was insulted. What about Advani Sahib? What about other leaders of Bharatiya Janata Party? Murli Manohar Joshi? What BJP is? BJP is because Advani. Where is Advani Sahib? So, it is not proper to criticize any other party. BJP should look after its own house and they should not have any concern about who will be the Prime Minister of opposition party and who will be projected. Nobody is going to be projected. Whether it is Kharge Sahib. Kharge Sahib himself has said that only after election it will be decided.
Okay, Mr. Rashid Alvi. Sir, I don't think that it's as much as a concern to the BJP as to the people of this country, because a healthy opposition, a formidable opposition is important for any democracy. Mr. Rashid Alvi and Mr. Gurpatwant Pannun, thank you gentlemen for joining us on the broadcast. We'll continue tracking all the stories here on The Nation at 5. For now, slipping into a very short break. Stay tuned, stay with us.
Brought to you by
Despite the power of Iceland's Reykjanes eruption decreasing on Tuesday, nature was still putting on a show. The 2.5-mile-long fissure continuing to spew lava up to 330 feet into the air. The evacuated town of Grindavik lies under 2 miles away, but volcanologist Dave McGarvey told Reuters the lava flow should avoid the area.
At the moment, it's not, one can't be certain where the lava is going to flow, but it looks like it will go more towards the north and west, and perhaps the south and east. And those are good directions for the town of Grindavik.
Recent inactivity had raised hopes the 4,000 residents might return home. Hans Vera, a Belgian who has lived in Iceland since 1999, isn't so sure now.
Although it's just erupting in the north part of it, they probably think there's a chance that it opens up somewhere else, and then it's going to be closer to Grindavik. So I don't see that in the near future they will let people get close to Grindavik. So we are back in the waiting game.
This Icelandic Coast Guard flight over the ripped landscape just hours after it burst the Earth's surface shows lava fountains sending magma and smoke hundreds of feet into the air. Officials worry gas pollution could spread to the capital Reykjavik late on Tuesday evening or Wednesday morning.
So it's very early days yet, but I think over the next 2 or 3 days, things will become much clearer.
In 2010, ash clouds from eruptions at the Eyjafjallajökull volcano in the south of Iceland spread over large parts of Europe, grounding tens of thousands of flights in Europe and beyond. But experts say this time limited ash is being released, quelling fears of a repeat, with no disruption so far. These tourists already making the most of the new natural wonder.
It's a once in a lifetime for us, so we don't want to miss that.
Scientists say seismic activity could continue for several months.
All right, the entire fear of COVID-19 and what we have dealt in the pandemic is something that still continues to haunt us. It seems like that the number of COVID-19 cases after a span of about a year are once again increasing. The centre and the state governments have sounded an alarm. Precautions need to be taken. In fact, the state of Karnataka has also said that in public places there should be mandatory masking that should be done by citizens. Have a look at this report that my colleague Himani gets for you.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
Amid an increase in COVID-19 cases in the country, Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia on Wednesday reviewed the preparedness of health facilities and asked states to be on alert and increase surveillance. Union Health Minister virtually chaired a high-level meeting with health ministers of various states to assess the current status and preparedness on COVID-19. The meeting was also attended by Dr. Rajiv Behel of ICMR, Dr. V.K. Paul, Member Health, NITI and Dr. Soumya Swaminathan. The members who attended the review meeting were shown a presentation on the surge in cases in the last few weeks. A top government official told News 18 that so far there are 21 cases of JN.1 detected in India, out of which 20 samples are from Goa and 1 from Kerala. All these cases showed mild symptoms and people recovered within their houses on their own.
Heavy flood has unleashed southern parts of Tamil Nadu. Behind me, this is one of the major junctions in Tirunelveli. This main junction has been flooded. The situation like this, where water is flooded, their entire first floor has been damaged. Tracks here are inundated, and for the past 3 days, train services have been halted.
Heavy rains have continued to lash parts of Tamil Nadu, especially in Thoothukudi, where there were hundreds of passengers which were stranded. An orange alert has been sounded in different parts and districts. Schools and colleges in many parts continue to remain shut. The weather department has said that utmost caution needs to be exercised. The NDRF and the SDRF forces have been kept on a standby. Even earlier last week, we had seen that rains created a lot of problem, caused mayhem in different districts of Tamil Nadu. Please have a look at these ground reports.
We are at a place called Antoniarpuram in Thoothukudi district. For the last 2 days, the people here have been suffering. They were not able to go out. The area was flooded with water. We can see the extent of damage. On the walls, we can see the water marks, like halfway through. There were water till that mark. So that is what the people here have been saying. 6 feet, 7 feet was the level of water here in this area. The main road was also blocked. They were not able to get out from their houses. They were stuck here. This wall also collapsed in this rains here. We can see that how people have kept all their belongings outside, be it the clothes in drums. They are trying to salvage as much as possible, trying to wash some of these clothes and see if they can use them. But many of their clothes, their furniture, their electronic items have all been damaged in this heavy rains. Water is still logged in many of these areas. We can see inside that water is still here. People have to come out. Even to enter their house, they have to go through this water. Here we can see that after the rains have stopped in the past 2 days, they are trying to clean up and take as much as possible to clean up many of their belongings. Tirunelveli Thoothukudi main road. This is the national highway. Behind me you can see the extent of damage. This entire road has been damaged and washed away in the heavy rains. From Sunday night to Monday morning, that is when this damage had happened. There are many villages on both sides of this road. They were all stuck in these areas, unable to get out. This main road, NH road, so much damage has happened in this heavy rains. On the left hand corner we can see that a small part of the road has now been made available for traffic. This was done just last night by about 11:30. That's when only from that time even small vehicles like this could pass through this area. So this is the extent of the damage of this heavy rains that we have witnessed in South Tamil Nadu. This is the main road that connects from Kanyakumari, Tirunelveli to Thoothukudi, and there are no other ways. The villages here were actually secluded because of this. There was no way to go in and out. Their houses were also flooded. We are at Antoniyapuram in Thoothukudi district. Here the people are shocked at the extent of damage. They are still taking stock of the situation. In this house we can see that water logging is still there outside. But in the past 2 days, on Sunday and Monday, what the people here say is that till the level of that mirror which is there at the window, then next to the window there's a mirror there if you can see. Till that level there was water inside and outside. The wall collapsed, everything has been damaged, clothes, utensils, any kind of items which were kept inside, be it their electric items, their furniture, everything has been damaged. They just have the clothes that they wore is what they are saying. They don't know what to do next.
பழைய லைஃப்ல நாங்க போறதுக்கு ரொம்ப நாள் டிலே ஆகும். இருந்தாலும் எங்களுக்கு வந்து தேவையான ஃபுட் அலோகேட் பண்ணா எங்களுக்கு நல்லா இருக்கும், பெட்டரா இருக்கும்னு எங்களுக்கு ஃபீல் ஆகுது.
So she was just explaining to us what really happened. On Saturday night, Sunday night, they were told that they had to rush out. They heard loudspeakers from the village. They were told that floods are happening, they have to move out. So they say that it was kind of sudden, they had to rush out. They couldn't carry much of their clothes. She was just telling that she only has this clothes which she's wearing right now.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The fourth meeting of the I.N.D.I.A Bloc finally was held in Delhi last evening amidst the mega Sansad showdown. The meeting was aimed to be a mega show of strength as Lok Sabha polls approach, but the differences continue to spill into the public and prevail between the parties. Not only did the seat sharing remain the elephant in the room, but there was lack of enthusiasm and bonhomie or that confidence that was displayed in earlier meetings missing from this one. Amidst all of this, Arvind Kejriwal and Mamata Banerjee bowled a